Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you on today's webinar. And the topic of today's webinar will be landing pages. We'll talk about how to build landing pages. We'll take a look at examples of some of the landing pages that our clients use. We'll give you practical examples on what could be improved on these pages. And we'll give you some design tips. And I'm not an expert on design myself. Because of that, we decided to invite a guest today, Michal, who's with us today is an expert on this topic, so he will walk you through today's presentation. My role will be a moderator. I will be asking questions, but I won't be presenting. I'll leave the stage to Michal, who will introduce himself and who will walk you through today's presentation. Some practical details in the beginning. To start with, we'll have about 60 minutes today. This presentation is quite packed, so hopefully we'll make it on time. Well, as always, this webinar will be recorded and we'll send you a recording afterwards. One more thing, as some of you might have used the old link, we must have created a new link for this webinar last minute. So sorry for that little confusion, but when we send you the recording, we'll obviously send you the correct one. And that's all from my side for this moment. I'll leave it over, hand it over to Michal, who will present you the topic of today's webinar.
Yes, thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me here. So my name is Michael. I would like to introduce myself for the first time. I am a creative director and art director at Bratislava-based creative agency Kreativna Dvojica, which basically we can translate as creative couple because I founded this agency with my wife. And last year we also started our LLC company in Akron, Ohio, in USA, and we are called Vivid Plum in there. I'm a member of various professional groups, for example, Art Directors Club of Europe or One Club of Creativity in the USA. And I have received more than 30 awards for creativity and effectiveness of our campaigns, including global recognitions as FE Awards, EPICA, or ADCE.
And
So
if I may just jump in, the reason why we actually decided to invite Michael today is because his company actually designed our website. It was a few years ago. It was one of
many years
their first
ago,
jobs actually. So that's how we met, and I was very happy. And it was not just the website, but also the visual identity that we still use until today. And I've been very happy with his work, and I've been recommending his further. So that's how our
so
relationship
it
started.
has been like 6 years for
Yeah.
now, probably.
Time
How,
for a redesign, Michael, maybe.
yeah.
Anyways,
So
as that was just a short point.
thank you
Go
for
ahead.
this. But let's move forward with the presentation webinar. So what you are going to learn today, first, because you don't have to be expert for landing pages, you should understand what the landing page is. Then we will move forward with the anatomy for high conversions landing pages. I will describe you how it should look like. The next very important part, I think, is to deep dive into the technical performance and measuring the effectiveness of the pages. And in the end, I will give you 10 quick wins you can apply right away on the website. Let's move. All right, so what is a landing page? Well, some people think it's their homepage, but it's not. As you can see on the left side, homepage looks like a shop window, basically, with a lot of possibilities to click, to navigate. There is a lot of information given, and it's quite complex. On the other side, the landing page has one real focus on what people should do there. There should be one goal, one call to action, whether it's collecting money, growing your supporter base, or doing any kind of mobilization for your cause or NGO, you should be using landing page. As I said, there is one clear call to action. It should be donation, sign up, selling some merchandise or whatever, you should first decide what is your main goal. And this will help you create the best conversion web page you can, basically. When we are working with our clients, we are always trying to think about who is their target audience, because most of the NGOs and other clients think that basically it should be everybody. But it's always better to focus on some target groups, and basically we can represent them as a marketing personas. It's a fiction character that we make up that will like carry some characteristics of the real person, and we are basically trying to group different people into smaller groups, and we can then focus the ads and marketing better on them. So how you can create a marketing persona? You should first think of several things. For example, it's a demographic characteristics. For example, if it's men, if they are men or women, what is their age, income, education, whatever. Then you should think about where they live, in which region, what is the local context they live in, or if they are students, parents, older people. So, what is their social characteristics? What is also very important is to understand their motivations and fears and beliefs so you can better write some text for your landing page to persuade them and convert them basically for donors or followers and so on. And this is also connected with some behavioral characteristics. For example, how are they using mobile phones, if they are browsing webs on the desktop, on tablets, on mobiles, and something like that.
And if I may just add one thing here, because I think it's important to mention that landing pages are mostly used for campaigns, right? And if you run a Google Ads campaign, you can use many of these things for targeting. So you have control over who lands on that page, right? It's not like, you don't know who's landing there and then you write it for one specific audience because that wouldn't make sense. But if you run a marketing campaign, you can go out there, people of certain age, of certain behaviors, living in a certain city, using certain browsers, and then just these people will land on the page. And if then the landing page is written and is optimized towards that specific audience, the likelihood that these specific people will like what they see on that page is it's much bigger. And opposed to that, when you have a homepage, you do not have full control over who lands there. So it needs to be somewhat general. It needs to appeal to a mass audience, whereas landing pages can and should be specific. You can have multiple of them. If you have multiple audience that you're interested in, then create one landing page for each and then create one campaign for each landing page. And that's the beauty of it. If you have control of the traffic, then you can create a tailored page. People will find exactly what they're looking for, and the conversion funnel is shorter, and the whole experience is much smoother. So that's, I think, also important to mention here.
Hmm. Yes, you're correct. Basically, this is how the profile should look like. It's you can name this person if you like. You can write down his characteristics, and it will help you to write better landing pages after. And as you mentioned, I think this is probably the most important part of the presentation right away, because understanding that you are not talking to everybody, but you can choose who you want to talk to is very important for high conversions. We always suggest to identify 3 to 4 personas, and that's why, because on the left side, if you are trying to talk to everybody, your messages may appeal only to specific people, so only some people will convert. But on the right side, if you are tailoring or you tailor your messages to right people at the right time to the right audience, the chance for conversion is much, much higher. When you are designing your website or the landing page, you should always try to look at it with the eyes of your customer or the visitor of your website, and he wants to know what's in it for me. So what are you offering to me? So let's now look into anatomy for high conversion websites. First, we should think about the differences between commercial websites and NGOs. In the commercial world, you are offering some products or services for value, basically for money or for lead generation. You are telling people what they get for their money. You use a lot of proof points like features of the product, reviews, scores, uh, price motivators, and utilities, basically. And on the other side, NGOs, they use emotions, they use trust. You need to um, get people understand what you will do uh, with their money, basically. Um, you need to be very transparent with that. You need to catch their heart or read in their heart, and then they will listen to you and do what you need.
Yeah, and if I may, you might have it over here, but what I see working well for American nonprofits, for instance, is to use what we call trust indicators. So if you have a Guide Star Award, or if you have some, third-party validations from reputable organizations, put those seals in, mention it, mention the number of reviews, mention when your organization has been established, publish your annual reports, all of those things that can increase the sense of transparency. All of that helps. So, and also you might have it on the next slide here, but try to avoid a long text, right? Break it down, use bullet points. People do not have time to read long paragraphs of text. So it should be visually appealing and easy for them to digest the information. But yeah, I'll let you talk more about that here.
Yes, you can use this scheme for designing your website. I divided the landing page into 6 main brackets. The first one, and probably the most important one, is the header. It's the first thing the visitor can see on your website, and it must really catch his attention. And we should always tell them what is this page about, why should they care, and what we need from them or what we want from them. The headline should be really short and catchy and written in an active form. Then there should be supporting description text that will develop the headline into more information. We should add a call to action button that will directly get us into the donation form, for example. And there is one suggestion that we should remove the navigation because we don't want people to wander around other websites, and we need them to be focused only into our one topic. There is one thing that we can use the anchors within one website. I mean, it's also a navigation menu, but it will not get you to another website, but it will scroll you basically down somewhere where you need. Don't use very long text here, and don't use vague headlines like "Welcome to name of NGO." The other part, oh, yeah, before and after. Um, in this slide, you can see differences when you make some small touch-ups in your website. I used a landing page of NGO that helps people to get out of their debts. They're financial counselors. And when I looked into their website, I found few mistakes that could be improved. For example, the first one, as I talked about the top navigation menu, I changed it and I still used some kind of menu, but is only an anchor that will scroll you down the website. And I also added a big call to action button there. Also, I reduced text in the header, and what I did, I added photo of person because it's proved that faces catch attention and make emotional connection. The other part of the landing page should be something what we call a value proposition, and we should describe why should people help, why now, and why should they help us. We can use images and videos to describe our cause. We shouldn't use very long texts, but better is to use bullet points and highlight some very important information. Maybe we can bold them in a text or maybe highlight them with some color. We can use infographics, we can repeat call to action buttons. Uh, what we should avoid is to use a lot of content, a lot of text, making a messy design because everything should be very clear to people to understand like what we are trying to tell them. Next, we should support our website with some, as Peter said, how did you call that? Social
Trust,
proof, something like that.
trust indicators.
Trust indicators. Yes, it can be a lot of things. It could be testimonials, for example, of people who already donated, or some celebrities that people can trust. We can use, for example, logos of media that featured our story where we appeared. It really helps. And we should also add some maybe infographics, some numbers or links for annual reports so people can see exactly what we have done. And what I don't recommend is to use, for example, fake reviews or AI images that are easily recognized as AI, because this is all about emotion. If people understand that you are using AI images and basically you are making up a story that is not 100% true, you will lose the credibility and their trust, and it's really hard to regain it again.
I agree. And just to add one thing there, even Google, when you apply for Google Ad Grants, Google looks at the website and they have a set of compliance requirements that they check for. And one of those is, especially when you collect donations, they want you to be transparent. So they want you to have your contact information there, including the EIN number. If you have annual reports, publish them, right? So even Google checks those things and encourages you to be as transparent as possible. It provide all these fields, recognitions, all these numbers. So if you have them, if you're an established NGO, make sure you include them on those landing pages, not just for Google to give you a go, but also people appreciate it, and especially those people who do not know you, the first time visitors. This is a good way to create initial trust.
Yeah. The next part, maybe the most important part, is the call to action form, where people convert and supporting you. Um, it should be really very simple, and you should always ask only the very necessary personal data here, because people don't like long forms, they don't like to register to support something, and it should be visible also. It should pop up from the design and the layout of the landing page. And what I really suggest is to use um, buttons with rounded um, edges, round shade buttons that will help people convert more. Because if you are using only rectangles, for example, it may look like just a text in a rectangle, but people are used to that button, and conversion buttons are round shape. Yeah. As I talked about the simplicity of the form, we can look into these examples. And the funny thing is that this is the example of UNICEF, both of them, but from different countries. UNICEF uses different websites for different countries, and you can really see that there is a huge difference in the layout, and I believe that also in the conversion rate. For example, on the left side, there is UNICEF Slovakia, my country, but really they didn't do a really good job because the donation form is very messy. Basically, I'm lost in there. And on the right side, there is a good example of the form from UNICEF Ireland, where you can see very short form in the first step when you are selecting the amount you wish to donate, and then you will proceed to another part of the form where you enter personal data and also credit card information, and you finish the donation. Uh, Below the call to action form, it's always good to support or explain once again our cause. For example, why this problem exists and what will happen with my money. I think that one real story is totally enough. You can add some photos of beneficiary. You can show before and after impact, so you will just support the reason why are you just asking about the money for the money. Some NGOs like to add some FAQ accordions, for example, where they explain most asked questions. Um, what you should always avoid in the landing page is to use very negative tone of voice and be very emotional. I mean, in the negative way, and just don't blackmail people with their emotions.
I There's actually a story that comes to my mind when you said this because I've worked for an antivirus company in the past, and cybersecurity. Uh, you can work with emotions a lot, right? So when we design our landing pages, some people said, it should be more like, you know, don't lose data, don't give your credit card to scammers, that type of voice. But then the manager basically always said that we do not want to convey these types of emotions. We need to be positive about it. So we need to always say, with us, this is not gonna happen to you. But we should not, give them the sense that are you screwed? We'll help you. That's not the type of communication we want to do because that's not in our DNA. And I back then it was difficult for me to understand because the emotional ones and the ones that were threatening people clearly worked better. So I did not understand this decision back then. But after that, after I worked with different NGOs, um, I understood that the reputation and the way you present your brand is sometimes way more valuable than the short-term gains that you might get from a slightly better converting landing page. So I absolutely agree with you, Michael, on that. Being too dramatic, showing images that might be intrusive or
Yeah,
too much for some audiences is something that you absolutely need to avoid. Use positive voice, say what you can do, what kind of lives you can impact, how you can improve them, but
exactly.
don't tell this many kids will die if you don't donate today. An absolute no-go. Don't even think about it. This is not gonna do any good to you. So I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, people are living difficult times on their own, so they just want to see something better, and if they can help with that, it's even better.
I agree.
So the last part is the footer, where you can repeat your logo, your tagline, and you can give some contact details that are or maybe mandatory. You may use your social media icons so people can reach to you and become your followers. And you can also add some privacy policy links and that kind of things. And what you shouldn't do is to add some new information, put a navigation menu in the footer, and, for example, give long explanations of your topic. Now we are proceeding to some tips for higher conversions. For example, one of my suggestion is to make your website faster. You can do this by several technical things and optimizing your website. For example, you may be using lazy loading, and that means that you are not loading the full content of your website at once, but you are using a script that loads only the visible part of the website, so it will pop up sooner in the browser of people. For this, you can, for example, compress images and use up-to-date or modern formats as WebP or AVIF, which means that you will not use big PNG or JPEG files, but you can reduce their size. Also, this is true for graphics. For example, if you are using some kind of icons, it's always better to use SVG graphics, which is basically a vector graphic in online environment. And the big benefit is that if people are using high resolution displays like Retina, they will always see very nice and sharp icons. For example, for fonts, if you are using any font, each font comes with different styles like regular, italics, bold, semi-bold, light, and so on. So you can basically subset font, like removing what you don't need and only use what you are using on the website. And this really drastically reduces the size of your website, and it will really load sooner. And also, I always suggest to use fewer animations. I know animations is nice, everybody loves it, but using too much will give a lot of JavaScript libraries in your website, and it's really not so necessary.
And if I may just add to that, is also true for any kinds of scripts. I've seen older websites and they have, number of analytics scripts and some tools that are no longer used, but the script has been added to the website 5 years ago. Nobody removed it. And all of this needs to load. Every time somebody visits a page, it starts loading from the top. And if you have all, different types of scripts within the source code, all of that needs to load, and it again just makes it the load time longer, and it serves no reason. So here and there, it might be worthwhile to look into the source code, clean it up, remove all those scripts that you don't use. That's we do this. Every time we have access to a website, we look at this and we do this kind of type of cleanup, that can also help a bit.
Yeah. Also, I have some useful suggestions for your call to action section. For example, on the website, you may use a sticky call to action element. It just stands for some kind of button that is stick to the side of the browser. For example, on the desktop, it's the right side. On the mobile, it should be the bottom side of the browser. And when people scroll the website, this sticky button stays visible, and then they can basically click it from any stage of the website. If you're giving some options for donation amount, for example, you should be using up to 3 options, because if you're using more, people are getting confused. Or you can add like entering their own amount of money they want to donate. It's always good to mention somewhere around the call to action form that what will you do with their support. It's very nice. It's very like inviting them to continue filling out the form. And what will help them to fill the form is autofill. It's really clever that the website can understand, for example, from which country is your visitor, and he will and or the form will fill some parts of the input itself, and it will help people to not just waste a lot of time filling the form. uh, don't forget for privacy and marketing checkboxes, it's really important. So people give you the proper consent, then you can remarket them, you can send them newsletters, so it really helps. As I mentioned before, if you use round corners for the buttons, it helps. Also, if you add some light like drop shadow, it also helps to pop it up. Um, when it comes to payments, it's always good to think about adding credit card logos. And I believe that 70 to 80% of all traffic to the website is made on mobile phones. So you can make it for people much easier, for example, to donate if you are using um, if you are using payment gate that supports Apple Pay or Google Payment, or if they are on the desktop, they may be using QR payments, so they can just scan the QR code with their phones, and they don't need to take the credit card from their pockets. So what to do after conversion? It's always good to reload the thank you page with a unique URL. This is really important because some donation forms are designed that after submission, there is only some kind of a green bar that says, oh, succeed, thank you for the payment, but you don't reload the website with a unique URL. If you do, you can better measure conversions with Google Analytics, for example. You can give them options to invite friends so they can support more. They can connect with you on social media. And then you should send them a thank you email, for example, with the receipt. And after, for example, your campaign is over and you did something great with the donation, you can also follow them up with a story, how you helped, and maybe upsell them for another donation. Okay, now we can inspect three websites that I like, and also I can show you some examples like what is done good or what should be improved in there. I'd like to, yeah, focus on this. So this is the first website. I think Peter, you know this NGO. Maybe you can describe it somehow.
I do know them. They've been our client for a while, and we actually ran a fairly complex fundraising campaign for them using Google Ad Grants as well as commercial Google Ads, and they are an environmental protection organization. They collect money to protect the endangered species in the island of Galapagos. We've actually the last webinar we had, that's when I explained the fundraising strategy, and I also used them as an example. So if you're interested in learning more about this organization and how we designed the whole fundraising strategy, I recommend you checking out our last webinar, which you will also find on our YouTube channel. So yeah, they've what I have to mention here, we haven't worked with them on landing page design. So they have designed their landing pages themselves. I believe they have an internal person designing this for them. But we gave them some suggestions, but we did not work on them on design. So this is
Mhm.
their own work.
Yeah, but anyways, they did some job good. For example, they are not using a menu, as we said before, so you have no chance to escape somewhere else, and you are focusing on a donation box right away. What I really like that they used a three steps donation form. So in the first step, you just choose some kind of amount you want to donate, and then you proceed with the details. And also, what I like, another thing is that they are using, um, or they give you availability to choose a reward or a gift for your donation. If you donate a significant amount of money, for example, $100 or $50. And this really helps to make the donation amount bigger for them, basically. Yeah, what I don't like about this website is that it's really simple. There is just one paragraph of text, and I would really appreciate more storytelling and showing some results of their work, some infographics, whatever. Maybe you can suggest them, Peter.
That yeah, and that, I mean they if you look at this landing page, it's on their subdomain, so it's give.galapagos.org. And then when you go to their homepage, they also have a page where they talk about the reasons why to donate, etc. Um, and I remember having a discussion with them about which one should we actually use. Should we use if you click on donate? I think I'm not sure if it takes you to this one or not. Maybe you can try that. Just click
This
on
is the
donate.
homepage, and it's
Yeah,
pretty nice.
that's the homepage. Yeah, I like the homepage. They have the annual. If you scroll a little bit further up, just scroll a little
Yeah,
bit, a little bit, a little bit. Yeah, over there. See, they have their impact report. They have what we do. They have animations and videos. So I like their website, and we've had a discussion about, okay, should we just take people here, especially the first time visitors who are not familiar with them? Should they go first here, or should we take them to the gift page, where like what you said, there's not so much information about them, but then the conversion path is shorter. And we ended up running a test. So we used this one versus the other one, and then we have conversion tracking in place, and then we obviously evaluated the results, and the outcome was that obviously for retargeting campaigns are campaigns that show ads repeatedly to people who visited the website. They know about them, so we can take them straight to the gift page, and which is this one. There's not so much information, but again, they know them, and some of them donate regularly, so they just come in here and they donate. But for new audiences or people who do not know them yet, this is
yeah,
not the best one because, like what you said, there's just not enough information. There are not enough reasons for them to give. So those new audiences, we need to take them to their homepage or some page with a little bit more context, and then from there the donation button is right there, so they can click it. It's one further, one extra step they need to take, but the conversion rate overall was better for new audiences. So it's
yeah,
it's always important to, coming back to the beginning of your presentation, think about who engages with this particular ad. Is it a new person who doesn't know you, or is it somebody who comes back regularly? What kind of keywords do they use, right? And then you should find or design a page
yeah,
accordingly. That's, I think, very important. And then obviously not just that, but also having analytics in place so that you can evaluate this. That's, to close the loop, you need to be able to track how many people donate. That's a different conversation, and we also had a webinar about analytics, so you can take a look at that for more details. But yeah,
yeah.
that's
That's a good strategic thinking with targeting. Yeah, I like it. Okay, the next one is WaterAid. That it's organization that help with water around the globe, and their goal is to help up to 2 million people. So it's really much. And what I really like about this website is that they are using some of the things we were talking about previously. For example, they are like building trust with influencer. This is Mr. Beast. I think he's one of the most followed YouTubers in the world. So very known person, and they are like developing their story a little bit more throughout the website. They're also using, for example, similar form as the website before. But what I like here also that they provide some kind of suggestion or information about how much are things they are buying for the donation money. So this gives a better view or example like how much you should donate to buy, for example, a solar panel or water pump. So I believe that this also supports and increases amount for donation. They're also working with press, with some media. If I click this, It will link me down to some videos from um, some TV shows, maybe podcasts, and so on. But I would really appreciate if I find a logos here because it looks a little bit messy. Okay, and the last thing, last one is UNICEF Ireland and this special landing page about Sudan famine. And I really like this one, and I can really tell that they applied the most of suggestions from the first part of this webinar. So they are using emotional picture. They are say what you can do, what is this about. They are using three options for donation. Also, you can adjust your own donation amount. And by choosing different amounts of donation, they are giving you idea what are they going to do with the money right away. That's really good. If you scroll down, they are like highlighting different parts of the text, so it promotes the readability of the text. If they are using some picture of child, we know exactly what is her name and what she was like dealing with until people like you provided some kind of donation. So this is very good example how they work with emotions, how they work with information and persuasion.
And what I
What
also
is
like about it, if you, sorry for interrupting, if you scroll up, what I like about it is that you have two options, which is like donate, give once or give monthly, right? And I
yeah,
think for many nonprofits, um, it's they have very high seasonality in their donations, and it's difficult
yes,
for them to generate funds outside of holiday season or Giving Tuesday, etc. So to them it's much more important to grow the base of regular donors, and by showing the option like this, I think it can also help them increase the number of regular donors, which is what they really need. So
yes.
I think that's also neat.
Mhm. They are not using any kind of top menu or a sticky side button, but as you can see when I'm scrolling throughout the website, you can find the donate now button almost everywhere, every part of the website. Also, they use infographics like here. They're really trying to give you as much information as they can. All right, that's it. Um, Now I will get back to the presentation. And in this second half, we will focus on measuring the effectiveness because this is really important if you want to spend your media budget well. Basically, when you pay some money for advertisements, you display your ads to a lot of people, some of their click and get to your landing page. And the landing page is the place where the conversion is made. So basically, if you have a weak landing page, all that media money will go down the toilet if they don't convert. What is important in this is that your ads should match the content of your landing page. I will describe why. As Peter mentioned before, Google introduced the quality score. It's a metric from 1 to 10 when they are evaluating the effectiveness of your Google search ads and how they match your website. There is a lot of like signals they're using, for example, keyword relevancy, ad relevancy. Basically, they are comparing your headlines and text of ads with your landing page. And if you want to have a good quality score, you should, for example, repeat the same message as you write in the ad. your landing page should have one goal. It should fast. It should load very fast. It should be mobile friendly. So you should like you should have optimized website basically. Sorry. Yeah. Peter, maybe
Uh,
you could uh,
yeah,
please.
I can jump in. We've also had a webinar recently about the content creation. That's when I talked about the topic of quality scores a little bit more. But for those of you who were not there, um, the way Google gives you a position within the Google search results, it mostly depends on two factors. One is the quality score, and the other one is the bid, right? And if we talk about Google AdGrants, almost everybody bids the maximum, right? Because it's free money, they want to use it, so everybody's bidding the maximum, which is with standard bidding models $2. So now the second part of that, which is the quality score, that's really what matters. Because if you have a high quality score and you have the bid, which is the same as anybody else, the quality score can make a difference, and the quality score may be the factor that puts your ads on the more prominent place, which is where people find it. And to build up solid quality scores, exactly like Michael mentioned, you need to have high relevancy, and it's one of the most important things. So the keyword that you use for targeting, the same keyword should be used in the ad, and the same keyword should be used on the landing page, right? Because Google does not want to confuse people. They do not want to bring people to a page. It doesn't talk about the thing that they've been
Exactly.
searching for, right? So yeah, that's something to focus on. And over here you can see that the quality score has different components, and Google Ads shows you what your quality scores are for different keywords, and you can see which of them are problematic, and then you can work on them, or you can place those keywords on the landing pages, and that can help you boost quality scores for those problematic keywords.
Yeah, so the consequences are basically economical because the ads will be much more expensive. You'll get fewer clicks and worse positions within the Google search website. So you should keep it as high as possible. What I recommend as tools that you should implement, we were talking about the scripts. So you need to add only a Google Tag Manager on the website. And with the Google Tag Manager, you can then connect other different analytics. For example, Google Analytics, you should connect Google Ads conversions. Meta has also its own events manager, so you can create audiences, for example, from people that have already visited your website. And what I really like is Microsoft Clarity. Maybe you know it, maybe not, but Microsoft Clarity is a perfect tool. It's a little bit like a spy, but it basically records screens of visitors of a website, and you can see how are they scrolling throughout the website, where they click, if they struggle to fill a form. For example, you can also see a heat map of your website, where they click the most, or what content is very important or interesting for them, and where they spend time on your website. So this is free, and you can easily edit with Google Tag Manager. Just try it. It's also good for A/B testing. And the other tool we use in our agency is PageSpeed Insights. And basically, if you create any website, you can measure its quality with Google PageSpeed Insights. Um, you have four main parameters that you should focus on. The first one is performance. That basically means how long does it take for the website to load. Then it's accessibility. This is about if you have a good contrast, um, if the text is visible, if it's big enough for all kind of people visiting your website. Then best practices, that's kind of thing for programmers, and SEO. What is important to tell about landing pages and SEO, that you just don't need to care about SEO for landing pages, because anyway you will get the traffic for your landing page from the ads. and you will target your ads to the right audience. So people will not like type in Google about your NGO and then they shouldn't like land on the landing page because you never know what kind of people are they.
And some people to do that, some people even choose to non-index their landing pages, which
Mhm.
basically you can add a line of code to your landing page. You say no index, and Google basically then sees it and does not include it in their index, so people will not find that website through Google search. And again, yeah, people sometimes do that because they want to have full control over who lands on the page, and they do not want just random people going there. So that's also something you might consider.
Yeah, so we made it to the last part of this webinar, and you can use this table of 10 quick wins to make your landing pages better. I will run through them. So first thing is dedicated to the header. Please make it as simple as possible. Write down really strong headline with a short subheadline or copy text. One call to action button is enough, and please use really nice and realistic emotional photo. Then remove the navigation menus, as we talked before. Add a strong image. Um, make the call to action impossible to miss. This means that you should repeat it around the website a lot of times, three, four, five, whatever. It depends how long is your website.
What I usually do here, if I may just add, I in Google Analytics, if you use Google Analytics for your homepage, you can take a look at the most common resolution, the screen resolution that visitors of your page use, and then you can emulate their emulators, or you can open up your page within that resolution. And then as you scroll down, ideally you should have a call to action on every screen on that most common resolution. That's what I do. So if you have a very long page, you might end up having 4 or 5 call to actions, right? Depending on how people visit it. But yeah, that's something that you can do. Just check the most common resolution, look at the page through the lens of that most common visitor, and then make sure that you have landing pages, uh, you know, ideally on every screen, or at least
Yes.
every 1.5 screen or something like that.
And what we are doing all the time that we are using the sticky top bar where we add a button so it follows the user
Yeah,
whenever
that's ideal.
they
That's
scroll.
ideal.
Add trust signals early. That means use like logos of media that you featured in. You can use testimonials. You can use some kind of ratings, whatever that can help to make your credibility higher. Highlight the impact of the donation. Uh, this means that people should always understand how will their money be used, for example, and how you helped before. Because if you have some kind of track record, sorry, it's always better and more easy to get new money for your cause. Always reduce the form to the minimum. This means that really ask only the mandatory personal information from people. For example, it should be only name, their email address, so you can send a receipt, their email after donation. Also, credit card information, of course. Use
And
pre-filled forms or autofills. Yeah, Peter.
And also, yeah, just coming back to the example you've mentioned early on about UNICEF. If you remember, you had one version with like all the fields on one screen, and yes, you have to ask about the name and the email address and the credit card. So yes, it's like 10 different fields you need to ask. But on the second example, I think it was just easier to digest. So they've always asked for, 3 to 4 pieces of information on one screen, and then you hit next, and you have again 3 to 4 pieces of information. And it's yes, you ask the same 10 or 12, um, 10 or 12 information, but it's split into 2 or 3 screens, and
Yeah.
it's just easier on them. If you see a big form and then you say like, oh, I'm just not gonna do
Yeah.
this.
All gets
And yeah, it's just scary and confusing, too long, etc. But if you ask them in 3 steps, and in between you give them again a few more trust indicators, try to support them, try to make sure that they do not leave, I think this might work much better.
basically make it as easy as possible. Then don't forget to optimize for mobile. I believe that most of your websites are already responsive, that they can like collapse for the right display size. And the last thing, that speed up the page, because people are not willing to wait. For example, if we are running any kind of campaign, there is a huge drop in the measures of clicks and the real visits we can measure with Google Analytics. For example, even if they wait 2 or 3 seconds, a lot of people just go away and close the window.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for the placement of important elements on the page. When we use different tools to measure usability of our websites, we've noticed that uh, only very little people actually scroll. So obviously 100% of people see the first screen, but then on the second screen, that's about maybe 50, 60% of the people. And then it drops dramatically. So if your landing page is long, if you have 3 or 4 screens, there's only about 10% of people going to the fourth screen actually. So when you think about which information I say on the top, you know, think about it strategically, because what you have on the first screen, it's guaranteed that everybody will see that. But if you mention something on the third or fourth screen, it might be 10 or 12, 20% of people actually seeing that information. So think about that as well, and try to put those most important information as close to the top of the page as possible. I think that's also important to mention here. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna interrupt you any further. That was just one insight that I wanted to share, and you
thank
can
you.
conclude it.
It's good. So that's from my part. Thank you very much for having me. I hope you learned something new about landing pages. And if you would like to contact me, please use my email, or you can scan the QR code and get the V card into your mobile phone, and we can consult your landing pages.
Thank you, Michael, for having for yeah, for being here. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. I think it was helpful, and again, the point you made about ads working together with landing pages, that's what we want to communicate to our clients as well, because the campaign can be as good as possible, well, without a proper landing page, or if it doesn't load fast, if it doesn't appeal to people, the campaign overall is not going to be a success. And because of that, our goal is to also educate our clients on the landing page design more,
Yeah,
um, give them tips on how to quickly and simply improve the user experience, and thereby also lifting up the overall campaign performance. So again, we do not specialize in website design, but we work with Michael, and our clients are obviously we're welcome to contact Michael directly or via us. We can take a look at it. We can take a look at the campaigns that we run, and we together with Michael can work together on guaranteeing that the content of your landing pages is as tailored as possible. So thank you again. Sorry for those initial technical problems. We'll send you the correct link so you can watch the recording. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Michael directly. Thank you again for your time. Have a nice rest of the day, and hopefully we'll hear each other next time on our next webinar. Thank you. Bye bye.
bye bye.